Okay, this is part 2 of blocking in the values with our gloss glazing liquid. And I noticed that it looks like I recorded, or I didn't record a part from the last video. I just kind of filled in the side, but it's not much. You didn't miss out on much. I think I got our important things in. Again, here I am, and I am mixing my value scale from light to dark, and I just kind of work my way down. You take from the top, take half, move it down, add a little bit of black. And I just made a really dark one. Added my glazing liquid, and I'm starting in with my, not my darkest value, but a shade up from that. So I think this is a pretty good technique that I'm doing right now. It looks like I have my blending brush in one hand and I have a round brush in my other hand. So my round brush right now that I'm holding, this brown one, is just putting the paint in, and then you could see while it's still wet, I'll take the blue blending brush and soften the edges. It's really, I think lips are probably for me one of the hardest things to paint because I have a really hard time with keeping everything super soft, and the transitions aren't necessarily like a hard edge. It's more like a change in pigment of the skin color. So I've gotten better at keeping a blending brush with me like I'm doing right now. So there's my round brush, and then the blue brush will blend it out and soften what I did. It just keeps all your features looking more natural. You know, as a reminder, we don't have hard features. Even if we have like amazing jawlines or whatever, it's still gonna have a softness to it because of the way our skin wraps around the skeleton. Okay, right here I am adding in my shadows underneath the hair. That's something that we don't think about very often, but what kind of shadows are underneath the hair, and to paint those in first. This way you can just layer on top of it with your next layer of hair, eventually getting into your midtones, and then finally at the end put your highlights in. But I'm not adding in every single shadow just yet, and I'll explain that later. But the ones that are closest to the hair, these are the ones that I'm adding in right now. So now I'm starting to add the next layer of hair on top of it, and I'm using my blending brush to do it. I'm trying to keep everything really soft looking. And plus the blending brush has, the bristles are a little bit firm on the edge or on the outside of it to make it almost look a little bit like hair. I don't know how to explain it, or maybe it's too soft. But either way, it is giving me a soft effect that later I can sharpen with a detail brush. And I'm doing the same thing. So I guess that's what I mean. It's the blending brush is going to be very soft, and the detail brush is going to give you hard lines. So I'm kind of going in between the blending brush. This one right now appears to be I have a liner brush, and I have it's so hard to see from the angle. I think, okay, so that's a round brush. So I'm using a round brush, a liner brush, and a mop brush. So all those kind of come to a point, but the liner brush is very thin and long. The round brush is shorter, but it comes to a point. And the mop brush is just very soft and like fluffy in a way. Sweaters can be very challenging to think about how to paint, but once you just start doing it, just focusing on one little section at a time, it's not as hard as you think, because similar to how we paint our flesh tone and our skin, just get the values, get the shadows and shapes in there first, and then the details can all come later. As long as we have that initial like sculpture of our shapes in there, then later on we can like play with that and really make things pop or fall back or whatever you decide to do. And if you're creating these little dots like I'm doing, try to curve it a little bit more than I am to make sure it's really following the shape of the sweater. It looks like I'm kind of getting a little bit lazy here, so it's not looking as rounded. Although that might just be the way that, I'll have to take a look at the picture and see. I really like the way that is starting to look. Just a little bit of dot, white or light value dots popping out against the dark really gives it a really interesting effect. It does make it look more like that wool. But I do think, and maybe that's what I'm thinking about at this moment, yeah, is I think those dots could be softened out a little bit, not so hard. So it looks like I'm using a blending brush and just adding some soft highlights and shadows in there to soften out the work I just did. And because they are so young, it's really like, I would almost say you would want to avoid detail brushes and liner brushes completely until, well, either in the very beginning or in the very end when you're kind of doing like fine hairs and eyelashes and things that you do want to be kind of crisp. But again, not every hair has to be crisp, otherwise it looks like, ugh, you have like too much hairspray. But to keep everything super soft, especially with someone that has such soft and beautiful skin as they do. I'm really starting to go in dark. And I'm not putting the dark hair values everywhere, as you can see. I'm kind of trying to avoid the areas where I know the highlights are going to be. I think it just makes it a little bit, not necessarily easier, but well, I guess we'll see. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.